The San Francisco 49ers are 1 win away from home field advantage and playing at the Bad Bunny concert in Santa Clara. Rob Stats Guerrera and I will break all that down and more right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Rob Stats Guerrera filling in for Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, the only 49ers podcast that completed just as many passes as Jalen Hurts did in the second half on Sunday. Rob, how are you, buddy?
That has happened to the Eagles twice this year, and they have won both of those games.
Top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, there's nothing more masterful than just not putting up any passing yards and getting credit for the win. But hey, we know all about QB wins. But we're here to talk about one more win that the 49ers need to have. And the game itself, when the schedule comes out and you see week 18, automatically your mind runs wild. Dre Greenlaw stop. Seattle 49ers. Seattle should be improved. What is this game going to mean? Well, I had predicted with Steph that this game would mean something, but not everything. And what I meant by that was it wasn't going to be whether the 49ers win and then they get in. It's, are they going to be the number 1 seed or are they going to be the 5th seed? And that's exactly what is on the line right now. I mean, obviously the tiebreakers and all that stuff, that's a little wonky right now, but that's exactly what we have going on. I also feel bad that the pressure of these rivalry jerseys is going to be dependent on how this game goes. Because if the 49ers win this game, put them in the rafters, I love the jersey. If they're not, burn them shits and I never want to see them again, Rob.
It's pretty much what you have to do. We don't have a choice in the matter anymore, especially after they wear the 94 throwbacks on Sunday night. And the offense looks like the 94 49ers. I went back today, Jay, just to look because I said that this is not only maybe the best offense of the Shanahan era, it's one of the best 49ers offenses we've ever seen. And people are like, oh, Rob, you're exaggerating. You're hyperbolic. I'm not. The 94 49ers scored 505 points that year. It's the most points any 49ers team has ever scored. That's 31.5 points per game. Since Brock Purdy has come back, this 49ers team is scoring 35.6 points per game, and they are on pace. If they, you take this and expand it over a 16-game season, which is the same amount the 94 Niners had, it would be 569 points on the year, which would be the third most any team has ever scored in a season. That's how good this offense is right now.
And considering Mac Jones played a lot of these games. No George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings was banged up, right? The defense, like this season, and we're gonna get into obviously the injury report and everything as well too. But Rob and I were talking off of the camera. This has been the most fun and fascinating 49ers season that I've ever covered while I've been doing content creation. Yes, the San Francisco 49ers went to the Super Bowl in 2023. Yes, the San Francisco 49ers in 2021 and 2022 made deep playoff runs to the NFC Championship. But I am enjoying this season so much because of all the stripped down expectations. What more can this team do? And they are on the doorstep right now of not having to leave Levi's Stadium. Now, however that works out is however, but my goodness, when we were doing our predictions and going game by game, we probably had the 49ers here at 12-4 going into this game. But we had them at 12-4 in a very, very different way, which was the 49ers offense is going to have to lift this defense. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa will be enough. We did not foresee all of these circumstances happening and the 49ers still having this chance. I am having an absolute blast covering this team this season. This is, no matter how it ends, going to be one of, if not, my favorite season to cover the 49ers right now.
Yeah, you can, back in the day, you used to have to print out MapQuest directions, right? And it was like, you use a printed list for anyone that doesn't know. It was like, turn on this street, turn on that street. And like, you would end up eventually at your destination, but how you got there was, you had no idea what was going to happen in the middle. We all thought the 49ers were going to make the playoffs this year. At least I did, given their schedule. I did not think it was going to be with your quarterback missing 8 games, and all of a sudden your defense rising up and keeping games close, and then the defense just getting completely banged up, and then the offense having to pick the team up again. The journey that they have taken, to say they've taken the scenic route is an understatement.
Yeah, and the ebbs and flows of a season, week-to-week league, how quickly things change. And I do want to throw some praise Brock Purdy's way because for all the Avengers talk, for all the he lifts or he's getting lifted, this is what a quarterback of that, I hate to throw the money part out, but when you're making that amount of money,
Hmm.
this is the expectation. Our defense is taking a step back. Well, lift us, GOAT. Lift us, quarterback. Lift us, offense, right? I mean, the Buffalo Bills are literally making a living saying, we're not going to help Josh Allen in any way. We're just going to hope that Josh Allen carries us. And Brock Purdy right now is filling in the blanks for what this team is lacking. And he has been incredible. Some would say, over this last stretch of football, the best quarterback in the NFL. I think it's a fair argument. I mean, when you got to kind of look at what Trevor Lawrence is doing. I know I don't want to say that out too loud, but he's been very, very good down the stretch here. But yeah, it's absolutely fair. But Brock Purdy is doing what someone who is getting paid $53 million, whatever it is, and I don't care when it kicks in, the contract signed, this is what we expect of you. This is what these types of quarterbacks who can fill in the blanks while you're trying to get everything else up to speed.
Brock Purdy is throwing to Juwan Jennings and Kendrick Bourne, and sometimes Ricky Pearsall, and sometimes George Kittle. You know who's throwing to the Avengers? Matthew Stafford is throwing to the Avengers. He's got Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. Every tight end on the damn roster is good. They have good running backs, and they have Sean McVay calling the plays. That's the Avengers, okay? Like, what are we talking about? That we have to kill that narrative with Brock Purdy. It doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry. It doesn't. You can't say he has the Avengers when you're calling Christian McCaffrey washed and George Kittle's in and out of the lineup and Ricky Pearsall's in and out of the lineup and it's Kendrick Bourne and Juwan Jennings. Like, no, that Avengers narrative is dead.
The Avenger might be Kyle Shanahan, but
Right.
speaking of Kyle Shanahan, he did go to the podium and had to deliver some injury news. And we all know how we kind of take the injury news. When we hear it, we listen, we take in the information, and then we pray. And not practicing today. Christian McCaffrey back. You saw him getting that worked on Sunday night. Keon White groin, that's not good. I do not want to see that on there as well. Kyle Juszczyk hip. Trent Williams hamstring. Kyle Shanahan says that he has a chance to play. Just for the people at home keeping score, the last two times that he has declared that a player has a chance to play without practicing was Ricky Pearsall against Indianapolis. He did not play. And George Kittle against the Bears, he did not play. So I don't know where you land on this one, but given how short the week is, what the injury is, and Trent was on the doorstep of playing every single game
Hmm?
for the 49ers. And the first snap on Sunday, it's like, listen, man, we have dealt with our share of adversity. How many more rocks can you throw in the way? You know, it's been a rocky season. How many more rocks can you throw at this team? Rob, what do you think? Is Trent going to give it a go on Saturday night?
I don't think he's going to. This is the first hamstring injury he's ever had in his career. And if that pass isn't picked off, he probably never pops it. He probably doesn't have,
Right.
because he didn't hurt it until he was chasing down the linebacker on the return, which is just maddening. But shout out Austin Pleasance. There were really only like a couple of plays where you noticed him. Now, one could have absolutely ended the 49ers season because it looked like Brock Purdy was going to get absolutely drilled in the back like Joe Montana and Leonard Marshall back in the day.
It's good pocket presence. He sat down.
It was amazing that he like kind of peeked over and he just went down and it was like, oh my God, thank goodness. But other than that, the run game held up even without Trent. I certainly don't want to go into this game without him, but if this is what it takes for him to be ready to go in the playoffs, then you have to do it.
The Austin Pleasance thing is because most people, when you're watching the game and you see Trent Williams leaves and you see him come in and you're like, hey, I haven't heard his name, you automatically think that, hey, Austin Pleasance is out here just, honestly, Kyle Juszczyk deserves a ton of credit for what he did on Sunday night.
Yep.
The 49ers were very cognizant about making sure that Pleasance wasn't on an island by himself. A lot of that, I think they're calling it that trail motion where Juszczyk runs out, comes back, and then runs back the other way. A lot of that was chipping. It was chipping on the outside for that, and you have to give him credit for all the shit that people give Kyle Juszczyk, man. Whenever he's asked to do anything, whether it's blocking the run game, whether it's blocking the run game, make a catch in the red zone, in the end zone, that sort of selfless stuff isn't going to be something that shows up in the box score, right? Like it's not PFF isn't going to grade his pass blocking or anything like that. Like I really, really, really was impressed. I had a lot of time to go over because it was really fun to watch the offensive tape. I had a lot of time to go over the 49ers tape, and I just noticed, more and more Juszczyk moving that way, just throwing a chip block and then getting back out there. Throwing a chip block and then going out there and run blocking. Throwing a chip block and then going out and running a route. Like, Kyle Juszczyk, man, was absolutely incredible on Sunday, and I just don't think that people were noticing it because it was just a one touchdown catch and everybody's enamored with stats.
I have given Kyle Juszczyk a lot of crap,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe I was correct in that. But they are using him differently this year than they've ever used him before. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing all the stuff he always does, and now, like, they were basically, it was like they got him a like a step counter, and they're like, let's see if we could set the high score on this thing every time. I mean, the man is flying around doing that dash motion in the backfield, and I don't know if it was the kind of thing where Kyle was like, hey, I don't know if I can trust his blocking as much anymore. So now we're just going to give him a running start whenever he has to block somebody, and maybe it helps him. I don't know. But the way they are using him, I think, has helped the offense a ton. It's just like, a lot of people said, oh, Kyle has to evolve. Kyle has to evolve. Like, this is just a little tweak, a little change that they have made, but it's made a big difference.
Funny enough, the other team that is employing that same sort of motion, and they only have one more game left this season, the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel. They've been employing the same sort of tactics. So, stealing from each other. Everybody sees a little something. The Rams are now running it. I don't know if you guys noticed that a little bit. They're having their tight end out of 13, go in and come back out the same way. So, it's monkey see, monkey do in this league. And when you start to see the 49ers running game, which has now come alive, and by the way, that bye week probably came at the right time, man. Christian McCaffrey looked just exactly how he used to.
Woo!
Bad day for the Christian McCaffrey is wash crowd. But yeah, the running game, everybody is kind of taking from it. And again, it's McDaniel, it's Shanahan, it's McVay, right? Like, like these are the guys that look to each other and they steal from each other. But with all the injuries aside, I do think that Trent Williams is not going to play in this game. That certainly doesn't help. You don't want to hear that as well, too. But the 49ers were going to have to employ a game plan similar to what they had in week one, where the ball has to come out quickly. You have to stay on schedule. You can't find yourself in 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, even though Brock has been money on third
Yes.
down, and he's been and the 49ers red zone has been insane. 95.5% on goal to goal the last 5 weeks. That is like, if I put on Madden and I put it on rookie, I probably wouldn't be able to put up those types of numbers in the go to go in the red zone. So offense doing exactly what you need, but you don't want to hear this about Trent Williams. Rob, real quick detour. Uh Fantasy football is over, unfortunately. And of all the leagues that I'm in, I was able to walk away with one championship in a dynasty league, and I was carried by Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. Shout out to King Henry. Both of those guys will be on the trading block because I'm going to look to get younger in this offseason. But wow, thank you guys so much. Now, one of the things that's really frustrating, especially for me being a commissioner, is paying league dues out and making guys pay, right? Like, the games are over. We should be able to pay everybody out. Sleeper actually has a way for you to track who's paid and who are the ones who owe. So you don't have to track down your commissioner and act like he owes you money, because he doesn't. The people in your league do. And by the way, they also have a great offer. The NFL season is here, which means you have a chance to win 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Pick stats like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right and you can win big. And for a limited time only, new users will get a free $20 entry. And don't forget, if you use our promo code GSP, you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Love Sleeper. I'm gonna sleep really well knowing that I won one championship out of 9 this year. So, all right, Rob. I thought, since today's December 30th, and Steph hates me and didn't want to do, the last podcast of 2025 with me, I thought it would be really cool, since we're talking about a season that I am really enamored with. I'm fascinated by. This is going to go up very high with any of the seasons that I've done covering the team, whether it's writing or podcasting. I thought it was really cool for us to go back and talk about this entire season and start from week one. Because this season, I want to go back and think about how we felt after certain games, what it meant, and how we feel now. right? And in hindsight, some of the games that were either lost look really good or they look really bad, or the wins, they look really good, they look really bad. It's important to note that the week to week nature of this league will put you in a spot where you're being reactionary right after, which is everybody loves instant reactions. Those are the biggest shows always, right? Everybody loves to get
Mhm.
pumped up about that type of stuff. But when the dust settles, you kind of now have a clearer view of everything, right? Dust settles, clearer view. Didn't mean to do it that way. But Rob, we're bookending this season with a week one matchup in Seattle and a week one matchup at Levi's against Seattle. And that's where we're going to start. And I don't know if this 49ers season is on the doorstep of an NFC number one seed without this victory. And it's insane to think that a week one game holds so much weight and has really put the 49ers in a position where if you don't win that game, who cares who's in the rivalry jerseys? Mac Jones is going to be throwing to Demarcus Robinson, and then this game doesn't matter. But that game, George Kittle leaves in the beginning. Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings is banged up in that game. Um, the 49ers have to go down the field with Brock Purdy in Seattle to go up against his defense in week one, which thank God it was week one because they're still figuring things out. That defense that was there week one is not going to be walking through that door in week 18, by the way. They're far more in tune. But Rob, I don't know if I can remember a week one game that has had so much, I guess, has so many implications on a season. And a loss there essentially just changes exactly how we're covering this entire week.
When this schedule came out in May and I saw divisional game week one, I hated it. I hate
Yes.
having division games week one for exactly what you talked about. Like, you're still getting your friggin' pants on during the season. You're going to be such a different team by the end of the year than you were in week one. Like, I feel like it's almost unfair because division games, Kyle says it all the time, they almost count twice. They're more important. So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the 49ers got the win in this game, Jake Tonjes, of all people, plucking victory from the jaws of defeat in the end zone. When I look back at this game, the thing I remember is Bosa at the end,
Yeah.
shoving Abe Lucas into Sam Darnold when the Seahawks are going down the field and looking to take the go-ahead score. And for me, it was so reassuring because I was on the Bosa train big going into the year. Everybody
Yeah.
in camp was raving like Nick Bosa looks incredible. He looks better than ever. Bosa himself said, I'm just going to do the stuff that makes me really good. Like, I was on board this could be defensive player of the year season. And in the
Mm.
biggest moment, the biggest drive of the game, the gotta have a play, Bosa rose up and gave it to the 49ers and clinched the game. And I was like, that's the 97 we're getting the rest of this year.
I don't want to get sad, but yeah, I agree. I mean, like that's how you close out games, right? Like you have a closer. And
Yes.
and that's really that game, you know, Seattle's been a house of horrors aside from the Dre Greenlaw. Like recently, the
Mm-hmm.
49ers have been kicking Seattle's ass and it doesn't really matter. But for the most part, how we remember it is, and I'll never forget the 2019 season. The last game of the season, and the 49ers had won all these games. They had gone into New Orleans and they outdueled Drew Brees and I'm just like, man, this team can do anything. I still had to see them beat Seattle in Seattle before I could say, okay, now this team is ready to go. And that's exactly what they did. And that really changed things. That changed everything, right? And it's funny because Seattle has become like this, it was this house of horrors for the 49ers. It's not. It's not for anyone anymore. It's just not like that anymore. I don't know. I think it has to do more with the devil magic of Russell Wilson. I think it has to do a little bit more with the Legion of Boom than it does just this place being someplace that you can't go in and win. And the 49ers went in there and they kicked the door down again. When's the last time the 49ers have lost in Seattle? I can't like that's how far we're getting into the fact that this place is not any longer some house of horrors. And the 49ers feel like they can do whatever they want. And in this game, no George Kittle, Jake Tonjes with the catch, like you said, Christian McCaffrey banged up going into this week. We didn't know what was going on, right? Defense, obviously you're trying to figure everything out. You still have Michael Williams and all these guys, and obviously Warner and Bosa. But this game, was the springboard, right? And without this one, we're not talking about this week other than, all right, we'll see who we got next week. Are we going to Carolina or are we going to Tampa Bay? So I do want to say one thing for the people that are a little upset that the 49ers are not the Sunday night game. I think, and this is just me speculating. No, I think the reason that the 49ers aren't the Sunday night game is because it's not a win or go home game for either team. They're both in the playoffs, right? Pittsburgh and Baltimore is loser leaves town. So I think if it was the other way around, like, loser leaves town type game, you would have gotten that. So I think that's why they gave them the 8 o'clock game. What you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I think the 49ers got screwed, first of all, with another short week game after a short week game that they just played. Don't love that at all. Mm-hmm. I'm really stunned that it's not. Because don't forget, that game in 2019 was not lose or go home either. It was the same situation. Winner's the 1 seed, loser's the 5 seed, although the Niners could be the 5 or the 6. And I know, and I said this earlier this week, when I was at NBC, no one ever expressly used the sentence, but I overheard a lot of conversations, especially some conversations at some dinners when people had some adult beverages and maybe let their guard down a little bit. NBC could get pretty much whatever game they wanted. Their word carried a lot of weight, even among like ESPN would make their requests, and it was NBC kind of had the pick of the litter. Now, I haven't been in NBC in a while. Maybe that's changed. The Thursday games and the Monday Night Football games have certainly gotten a lot better since I was there. So maybe it's different. But when I was there, NBC's word carried a lot of weight. And I'm stunned that it wasn't San Francisco. But you're right. The AFC North game is a loser leaves town, and it might be loser leaves town for the losing head coach in that game too.
Man, I was talking to you about it. I really want this Mike Tomlin narrative to go away, and it only goes away until you stop accepting mediocrity because of a Super Bowl when Barack Obama was in office. But I do want to say this as well, too. I do think there is a little bit more Sunday Night Football lore with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Something about Sunday Night Football and it being Baltimore and Pittsburgh, I can just hear the music, and it's always usually them, right? Like, and it's always like so like I feel that at least a little bit. Look, for me, I don't have too much of an issue with it other than the schedule itself and the 49ers having the quick turnaround, which is, I don't think that the game was played on Sunday, that it means that Trent Williams would go. So I want to make sure that we say that as well, too. But I like that we're going to get this out of the way on Saturday night, man. So I could just sit on Sunday and, either, get in front of the camera and celebrate and laugh at other people and stuff like that. But I'm kind of glad that it's going to be done Saturday night. We get it done, get it out of the way, because New Year's Day, Indiana against Alabama. We're moving. Yes, I know college football. All right, let's move on to week 2. Week 2, the San Francisco 49ers win again against
New Orleans.
Now, by the way, this is one of the games that I wanted to highlight because I can feel the people watching this rolling their eyes. Oh, the Saints suck. Oh, they should have won. You want to take a look at those Saints now, man. They look a lot different right now. And it has a lot to do with the fact. And look, everybody kind of knows this, and I put this out there. I cover the Saints now, and I cover the Vikings as well, too. Funny enough, as soon as I started covering those teams, they started winning football games. But the Saints look far different. And the Saints defense has been very good this season. And the Saints ran out Spencer Rattler in that game. That offense didn't look the same. The 49ers go in there and they win with Mac Jones. That game almost got dismissed as like, whatever, it's the Saints. That game kind of looks a little bit better because of what they could have had on the field. The Saints are far better than their record is showing, and they are moving in a positive direction.
They look better now, for sure. This game for me was going in, it was like, all right, Mac Jones, we could beat the Saints. They don't look to be like super good. And another game where the defense had to close it out. And this time it wasn't Bosa, it was Bryce Huff. And it was like, in my head, it was like, yes, this is exactly the way this defense is supposed to function. Bosa gets pressure on one side because he did. Huff got the speed rush on the other. I remember Huff was bending the edge before Spencer Rattler even hit the top of his drop. It was unbelievable how fast Huff got around the edge. That's when he was only playing like 20 snaps a game. So he was fresh at the end of these games. He wasn't getting double teamed all game. And it was like, this is how it's supposed to work. And it was so reassuring that back-to-back weeks, the defense, stole the game, basically locked down the game at the end.
And I don't want to make anybody even more sad, but I remember that play as well, too. And Mykel Williams is absolutely just lifting the guard. And that entire, and just, Get better, Michael. Next year is going to be really cool. Next year the 49ers defensive line is going to have Nick Bosa, Keon White, Michael Williams, Huff, Collins. Like you've got a core next season too, right? Like the Keon White thing. You guys are like not you guys, but people roll their eyes at it. He's under team control. Bryce Huff is under team control as well. When you start to look at the sum of those parts next season, and you're going to add in the draft, I'm sure there's no way the 49ers are going to go a whole draft without drafting another defensive lineman. Next year you got to feel really good about this defensive line, but that's next year. But again, Michael Williams, really big play, and Bryce Huff closes it out. So the 49ers are 2-0. Week 3, the San Francisco 49ers face off with
the Arizona Cardinals.
The Arizona Cardinals. And honestly, that game always feels weird because no matter how bad the Cardinals are, they're annoying. They've always been annoying to the 49ers, and they've always had like close games with them. The 49ers find ways to win. Obviously, no Brock Purdy again, but the 49ers end this game 3-0. Obviously you have the 4th-and-1 pass from Mac Jones to Ricky Pearsall. That was when you start to really feel like, hey man, this season is kind of going a different way. You're 3 games in, you're 3-0, 4th-and-1. Mac sees it right away, gets it down the field. By the way, we are by week 3, we are fully in Ricky Pearsall mania swing right there at that point, because I think people forget, because I think it's the first 4 weeks it was Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ricky Pearsall, and Puka Nacua were 1, 2, 3 in receiving yards. 1, 2, 3. Marvin Harrison, you're not invited. But this is the NFC West party, and it was those 3 guys, and they're still at the top. Now, obviously, Ricky goes through all those injuries, but this was the peak. This 4-week stretch of like, oh my God, the 49ers have their guy. I still think they do. Like everybody needs to get up off the young man a little bit as well too. I think he's a phenomenal route runner. He's getting himself open. There was a little unlucky bounces here and there, and some unlucky stuff when he wasn't catching passes when he came back. But I remember walking away from this one saying, man, Ricky Pearsall's budding into a star. George Kittle's going to be on his way back. Juwan Jennings is starting to round into shape. Once Brock comes back, things are going to start to look a little bit different. But in this game, the story is, honestly, is the Nick Bosa thing. Yeah, and that's when, while you're like, hey, 3-0 is great and you feel good, that doesn't feel good. And that right there kind of just signals to a few people like, all right, maybe this might not be their season, because it's hard to watch this happen. I mean, look, you can't make any excuses about it. It's happening across the league. Look at Green Bay. Everybody's losing like their guy, but an edge guy, that's that closer that you're talking about, and that's exactly what Nick Bosa is doing. So I think, yeah, we're like, hey, 3-0, Ricky Pearsall is good. This offense is going to be good, but this offense is going to have to be better. But damn, man, not Nick Bosa. Anybody but Bosa.
That was what I remember from this game, is because, again, I told you just how high on Bosa I was, and for him to go down, and it didn't even like look like that. It wasn't like somebody crashed into him and folded up on him. It just was just one of those weird things. When he gave the thumbs down on the sideline, I was like, oh no. And it was, Brock is hurt. Bosa's now gone. Like, is this season going to unravel? I know they won the game, but it felt a lot like 2024, where it was like the Niners would win, but you just felt awful. It wasn't good. And also Eddie Pinheiro making a clutch kick at the end of the game. You're like, hey, maybe we got a guy now.
Hit the button.
I don't have it ready to. Kicker update.
Nothing but respect for my franchise kicker. And we got a donation from Cam's dad. If we win Saturday, Kyle gets Coach of the Year, CMC Offensive Player of the Year. I do think that if the 49ers win, Kyle Shanahan wins Coach of the Year. I do think
you should
that's
win
exactly.
It anyway.
We'll get to it. Let's go. I think the turning point is going to be when we get to a certain game where you have to start to say, okay, this is where he really starts to win it. But yeah, we go to week 3, lose Nick Bosa, win the game, 3-0, and it starts the trend of, what are you willing to sacrifice for a win? A soul for a soul.
Right.
You have to give up a win. You got to give up a player. And it's just, I don't know. We start to rack our mind. Who's putting, brujeria on us? Who's doing witchcraft? And like, these are the things that we start to think about, because superstitious football fans, that's how we are. But week 4, the 49ers go ahead and take on
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This game in particular now looks way different. And I will be completely upfront with you guys. The Jacksonville Jaguars were a team through 4 weeks where I was saying, you know what, man? I'm not sold. And Trevor Lawrence, he's not blowing me away, right? Like I'm thinking that right now he's kind of just going to be a starting quarterback, which is not what the Jaguars drafted him for at number one. You didn't draft him to be a starter. You drafted him to be, the golden boy. He's been the golden boy since he's come out the womb, right? Like, and he just hasn't been that. And the Jaguars defense going into that game, they were very turnover dependent, right? Like it had to be turnovers. That's how they were getting stops. And for me, that kind of runs its course and runs dry, which is why I wasn't worried about the Chicago Bears defense as much. Is they rely on turning the football over. It's a skill. It's something that you very much need. But when your bread and butter is only turning the football over, and if you don't turn the football over, the other team puts it in the box, then that means that the defense shouldn't be as worrisome. The Jaguars weren't that, but this game has aged completely different. Brock Purdy comes back. Obviously, the toe doesn't work, as well. The interceptions, all that stuff. But the Jaguars are actually really good, and that's really what I wanted to get to. Is the Jaguars are actually really good, and they are going to be a very tough out in the AFC. That is the 49ers' first loss, which is against a playoff team, and they were for a little while fighting for that number one seed.
A lot of the 49ers losses have aged like wine this year, and this is one of them. Because don't forget, too, in this game, Niners had the ball back with a chance to drive down the field and maybe do something, and our old friend Eric Armstead strips the ball away from Brock Purdy, and that's how this one ended. But it was a close game. Brock, clearly didn't look the same, still put up 2 touchdowns, but had some turnovers. And you felt like this one was one they let get away. And at the time, I was super mad because I was like, this is the Jags. Like, they're not expected to be good. I didn't think they were going to be nearly as good as they are. So I was like kind of expecting that this was one they were going to win. And then now I was like, now you got to steal one somewhere else to make up for this.
And the other thing is, too, is I love the easy schedule stuff, right? Oh, the 49ers have an easy schedule. But I was telling everybody before the season started, it's only an easy schedule if the 2024 version of those teams walk through the door. There's teams that are going to have different head coaches and different personnel. And just because the team was trashed last year doesn't mean that they're going to be trashed this year. And the Jaguars are a perfect example of that. Everyone looked at that and said, the Jaguars, who cares, man? Well, that's the difference. So the whole idea of like this easy schedule thing, it doesn't come to fruition until you start playing the games and you start to realize who teams are. And they clearly don't have the easiest schedule. That would be the New England Patriots. And if you're going to ding Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year, why are we not dinging Mike Vrabel for this? And by the way, Mike Vrabel needed help to win the division. Josh Allen missed an atrocious throw on that 2-point conversion. Otherwise, you're looking at another game against that, or another game in Week 18 that you have to win. They didn't even know they were getting T-shirts and hats until they got off the bus, so they needed help. They couldn't beat the Bills at home. So I understand the rush to Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson, but come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? Given all the circumstances and where Kyle Shanahan has his team right now, this has to be his Coach of the Year award if they win on Saturday, like I suspect they will.
Update your information. I thought the Niners schedule was going to be the easiest in the league coming into the year. But we've played 16 games now, right? Like, update the information. And I'm not telling you the Niners have played the hardest schedule, but the graphic on the screen shows it's been kind of middle of the road. Not the toughest, not the worst, but not the easiest schedule by any stretch of the imagination. The Patriots, way easier. Broncos, way easier. Bears, the guy everybody wants to give the Coach of the Year to, way easier schedule than the 49ers. So we can say, hey, we thought it was going to be easy, and it was tougher than it looked. It's time to update the info, update the takes, people.
Right, and the other thing is, too, is the Bears have a very easy schedule, but they're doing things that they've had easy schedules before, and they've never won these games. So they have turned the corner in that way. Right, like I don't want to discredit what the Bears are doing, right? I've said this over and over. Whenever you look at the top 5-7 teams in the NFL draft, they tend to be the same teams. And why is that? Because bad teams stay bad, and it doesn't matter how many picks that you get up high. The Giants stink. The Raiders stink. The Browns stink. They're always going to be at the top. It doesn't matter who's there. So the fact that the Bears had an easier schedule, they're doing something that they haven't done in a while, which is take advantage of those games and win them. That's the first step. And then we'll see next year with Ben Johnson as well, too. Cam's dad, thank you for the donation. We ended up playing the 4th hardest schedule NFL stat. Correct, right? And again, when you start to get information and you start to figure out who teams are, I really don't feel like teams are who they are until week 8, week 9, week 10. When you really have things under your belt, you figure out what your rotations are, what type of injuries do you have, what are you overcoming, how's your offensive system going. That's when you really start to figure out who teams are. That's why week 1 games can be a little deceiving. Yes, I'm happy the 49ers beat Seattle, but that Seattle team is not going to be that Seattle team that's going to be here week 18 for different reasons as well, too. I want to say that the week 1 Seattle offense is far better than the week 18
Yes.
Seattle offense. Shout out to Sam Darnold. You're turning into playoff Sam Darnold early. Appreciate that. That offense has been the best I can give them. The best compliment that I can give Seattle's offense while watching in these last few weeks is they've been barely above average. That's the best compliment I can give them, and that's me being very nice. It's me being very nice.
They have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's phenomenal.
He's great,
but that's it. They can't get the ball to anybody else. Only one other receiver had more than 12 yards last week for the Seahawks, and it was actually a tight end. No other wide receiver actually had more than 12 yards besides Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's him or nobody for Seattle right now.
Yeah, God forbid if Clay Kubiak figures out that Rashid Shaheed's actually more than a punt returner. I mean, that could be a little bit scary.
He's concussed.
Yeah. Oh, so perfect. I mean, well, not perfect. I don't want him to be hurt, but his speed is a little bit of a game changer. But I'm just not in love with Clint Kubiak and the way that he calls these games. Like even that Rams game, man, it was like the first half and the first 3 quarters, and I'm just like, dude, you are vomiting all over yourself in this one. Yes, Sam Darnold's throwing pick after pick, and he looks bad. But my God, man, it just that. So here's the trade-off. Seattle's defense in week 1 wasn't really where it was supposed to be. The offense was ahead. And now Seattle's offense is behind and their defense is ahead. And I don't know what you want more of. I'll take, honestly, even with this defense, I would take it the other way around with Seattle's defense being behind, and I'll take my chances in the shootout and hope that Darnold, does Darnold things. But I'm a little more worried about that defense now. And then they get Derek Hall back after that suspension. But we'll move on. After the Jacksonville game, who do we got, Rob?
The turning point of the season for me, the first game against the Rams with Mac Jones and the Funky Bunch going to LA and somehow pulling off a 26-23 victory in overtime. I think it's the game of the year in the NFL. I really do.
Yeah, this one is the one where you start to really look around and you're just like really happy and you're just praising whoever it is that you pray to. I pray to Superman. Thank God Kyle Shanahan is my coach. Thank God Kyle Shanahan is my coach. And this is the first of, when you look at landmark wins in his coach of the year candidacy, it's this one. And how can it not be? 8.5-point favorites. I laughed and scoffed at that all week. And I told you that entire week, not a chance. I don't know what these Vegas is trying to get you guys in here to steal your money. When has this ever been like this? And then, you recite the history of when the 49ers have lost games and played the Rams, they turn right around and they whip up on the Rams. And Mac Jones went out there and it was gritty. He was eating bananas. He's throwing up. They're throwing the football to Kendrick Bourne and Jake Tonjes, and the defense is even slowing down the Rams early on. And then the game starts to pick up and Stafford starts to hit these throws, and you get the fumble with Kyron Williams, you get the 4th down stop. This was when you start to look around and say, yeah, you know what, things are bad. You wish you had Nick Bosa, but we have to thank whoever it is that you think that we have Kyle Shanahan, because that's always going to be the reason that you have a shot in any of these games.
This game was sort of a microcosm of, I think, how the 49ers are going to have to play against Seattle and against these teams, which is they came out of the gate on fire. First drive, 8 plays, 72 yards, touchdown. Niners defense forces a punt. The Niners go 91 yards in 17 plays. They take up 8 minutes of game time, and they stick it in the end zone. And all of a sudden, it's 14-0 in the blink of an eye. Then the Rams look like they're going to score, and the Niners pounce on a fumble. And all of a sudden, you got a chance to go up 3 scores immediately. And yeah, I know the Rams came back ultimately, and it got close and went to overtime and all that. But that's how the 49ers have to play. When your defense gets a stop, because you're not going to get a ton of them, you have to go down the field and go up 2 scores and hopefully 2 touchdowns, because eventually your defense is going to let the other team back in, and you got to have a big lead when that happens.
100%. And you know how those games are. They're heavyweight bouts, back and forth. Like McVay knows Shanahan. Shanahan knows McVay. They know what they're all trying to do. I think that's what makes those games super interesting. But that was when it really starts to think like, you know what, man, I'll take my chances with this team against anybody, because if you're doing this with Mac and Kendrick Bourne and all these guys, oh,
What was that?
I don't know, spirit. But yeah, it's really when you start to feel like, hey, this team is really moving in the right direction, and you feel good about Kyle Shanahan, and you have a chance every single time that he's out there as the coach and everything. And it sparked a silly discussion about Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. I think that's all done at this point, clearly. But yes, the 49ers have two really good quarterbacks, and they've done really well. I don't know if you saw that stat. The two highest rated passers on outbreaking routes, Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. Something to be said about that. Cam's dad, thank you for being so generous and a channel member. Our Rams Week 5 reminded me of 1980s men's hockey USA Olympics. We played as a team. We have continued, ended up this Saturday winning. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen that movie. Is that the one with Kurt Russell? Yeah. I wasn't born then, but I do remember that, and I understand. I don't know if the odds were as long in that one as it was the Rams Niners, but I get the sentiment. I definitely understand that.
I remember being mad that Al Michaels was calling this game because it was an epic game and he blew every big call that he had in the game. But Alfred Collins punching Kyron Williams in the face to force a fumble at the 1 yard line. And then I felt like so many young players had a massive play in that game. Alfred Collins made a play on the 4th and 1 stop, the final play of the game. Marquise Siegel, who apparently can't see the field anymore, but Siegel comes flying in and smashes into the running back on 4th down to help make that stop. There were so many young players in that game that I feel like stepped up. It was so encouraging. And that was really when I was like, we might be able to hold the fort until Brock comes back. If we could beat this team on the road, we could beat anybody.
Was it on the road? Ha.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I mean, well, all that just means is Marcus Siegel year 2 season loading. All right, what's the game after the Rams game, Rob?
This is the loss that has not aged well, and that's Tampa Bay, 30-19.
Correct. Obviously, this game feels a lot different because the wind was out of our sails once Fred Warner, unfortunately breaks his ankle. And, if the 49ers had one more player on the field, we don't have to watch Fred Warner, go up and down from the box to, Sunday Night Football, which, by the way, like, I'm not a doctor, but he looks all right, man. I don't know what's like. He just looks like he's moving around and just doing whatever he wants. That's that dad strength because he's about to have his second kid. Congratulations to him and his wife. But yeah, this one doesn't look as good. I remember that week, and I remember how things were. Baker's the MVP. Emeka Ibuka is the offensive rookie of the year. No one knows. Is the answer to both of those things is and by the way, hell no to Emeka Ibuka. I don't know what happened. The Monstars zapped you all your energy because you just forgot how to catch. You don't know how to do anything anymore. By the way, offensive rookie of the year is Tyler Shuck. That's who I'm voting for. But this one hasn't aged as well. And I think the 49ers would be very happy to take their chances with Tampa Bay once again. If God forbid something happens on Saturday that doesn't, that doesn't, line up with what they want. So yeah, this one didn't age well. But at the time, you kind of felt like, hey, the Bucs are really good, and wait till they get Mike Evans back and everything as well too. But they've completely imploded. They've got to fire Todd Bowles.
I think that there was, and players have talked about this too, there was just a shell shock when Fred went down. Fred Warner had missed, I think, one game in his whole career before that point. He played all last year on a fractured ankle. Like, this didn't happen to Fred Warner. And the fact that they had lost Bosa, I think they were a little shell shocked. Obviously, they still didn't have Brock, and they went down. And since then, Tampa Bay, the wheels have just completely come up. They were 5-1 with that win, and they just forgot how to play football after that.
Man, just losses to Atlanta. They lost to Miami. Like, they're just this is the thing is there was a discussion last night about in the Rams game about, the 5th and the 6th seed. 5th seed means you go to Carolina or Tampa Bay. You'll take that. 6th seed means you're going to go see Philly or Chicago. That feels far different. And it's so funny. Joe Buck, who, by the way, is overhated. If you don't like Joe Buck, I don't even know if you don't like what you hate vanilla ice cream too now. Like what else are we hating? he was being very nice, and he was like, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I think the Rams would rather go to Tampa Bay or Carolina rather than, and he should have just said, yeah, they'd absolutely rather do that because both those teams stink.
It's the truth.
Yeah. So the Bucks one that's a little bit of a low point, obviously, because of the Fred Warner thing. You start to feel like, all right, this is not our year. This is just not going the way that we wanted. No Fred, no Bosa. What the hell? So, who's next?
Atlanta, week 7. This is when all of a sudden the 49ers found the run game for the first time all year. It was like just when you thought, the season's over, they put it on the Falcons in prime time.
No coincidence that somebody returned in this game and the running game got a lot better. And this was the game where that wind motion that Kyle Juszczyk, they started really using it in this game. And they were using it in a way to running the football with Mac was effectively keeping the Falcons pass rush at bay. And if you watched them yesterday, the Falcons pass rush was all over the Rams. Obviously, left tackle, our buddy DJ Humphries, who was here for a cup of coffee for a little while or lied about being signed here. I don't remember how it goes. Either way, he shouldn't be seeing the field. But that Falcons pass rush was getting there, and the 49ers just went back to tried and trusted, and it just looked and you talk about the adjustments, right? And you want to see Kyle evolve. Okay, outside zone hasn't really been doing too well. Boom, we're going to start running more inside zone. We're going to run some duo. We're going to run some things that are really going to beat them up in the middle. And we have the personnel now with Kittle to do it. And it was just, instead of banging your head against the wall, Kyle found a way to get this going. And they needed this win very badly because it was just, oh, you're not going to be able to do anything against Atlanta. Atlanta's, they just beat Buffalo. And do we even know if Buffalo's good at this point? Like, again, like looking back on all these losses and looking through the season, like, at one point, everybody was like, man, Atlanta beat Buffalo, but is Buffalo even good? And, they're going to make the playoffs, but that's certainly not up to snuff. So, yeah, the 49ers went in and they took care of business in this game, and you start to feel good again. And this is another one of those wins where you're like, thank you, Kyle Shanahan, and thank God that you're the play caller because you adjusted some things.
And thank God for Christian McCaffrey, too.
Yes.
He had 31 touches in the game for 200 yards of total offense and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, a defense with no Nick Bosa and no Fred Warner held Bijan Robinson to 40 yards on 14 carries. That's 2.9 yards per carry. Robinson had more yards on the 93-yard touchdown run against the Rams than he had all game against the 49ers by a lot.
Yeah. Bijan Robinson also scrimmage yard leader in the NFL. Dear God, what a player. It's going to be really hard to pick. It's really going to be hard to pick all pros at running back at this point. I have a feeling that one way or another, somebody's going to be left out in the cold. I mean, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson. Like, my God, man. Like, these guys it's going to be tough. Somebody's going to be pissed one way or another. So, yes, the 49ers beat Atlanta. Who do we got next? We got about maybe 10, 15 minutes left.
Next up, the Houston Texans, our old friend DeMeco Ryans.
This one has aged the best, in my opinion. The Houston Texans, they went into this game and they had the best defense in the NFL going into this game. They are far and away the best defense in the NFL right now. Far and away. You watch teams be unable to move the football. Looked completely inept in these games. And the offense is starting to catch up. I mean, they're getting their other guys involved. Finally, they figured out that Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins are good. But my God, the Texans, this one feels a lot better, especially given the Mac Jones played in this game. And it wasn't Brock. And Brock's mobility might have helped in this one. I didn't think Mac played poorly in this game. I just think the 49ers were kind of outclassed. And I think Houston has the best defense in the league. And I do think that kudos have to be thrown the way of DeMeco Ryans, and I'm very happy for him in the AFC, especially knowing that they effectively put the nail in the Kansas City Chiefs' coffin on Sunday Night Football. That was really, really, really cool to see.
Yeah, this was the first time I was like, we really missed the mobility of Brock Purdy because Mac Jones was just under assault all game long. A lot of people right now are like, oh, the Eagles defense is a championship defense. The Texans have allowed around 40 points less than the Eagles this year. And the Eagles defense is incredible. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's no slight to them. But DeMeco Ryans, they are on one. It is a savage defense. That's a Super Bowl championship defense. No, whoever plays them in the AFC, good luck.
Yeah. The AFC is in the same breath in which I'm like in the NFC, I'm not afraid of anyone. If I was in the AFC, I'd be afraid of Houston, Jacksonville. I don't want to play any of these. They're going to be a tough out, man. But
I'm not afraid of I'm more afraid of Houston than Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, on a scale, like I don't even have anybody that I'm necessarily afraid of in the NFC. I'm not afraid of the Rams. I'm not afraid of Seattle. I'm not afraid of the Bears. Not afraid of the Eagles. Like they all have fatal flaws. The thing is like when I'm looking through the AFC, I'm looking up and down, and I'm like, damn, you really don't want to go into any of these games and play any of them. So I think the NFC, whoever comes out of the NFC, is gonna have a tough time on their hands with whoever comes out of the AFC, depending on who it is. So, Rob, let's do a little speed run after this. So Texans, what do we got?
Then we got the Giants. Ho hum, handle your business. But that's the week we lost Michael.
Yes. So again, a soul for a soul. You get a win. You gotta give up a player, man. Yeah, that just that just felt like a game the 49ers had to win. The Giants are awful. They went in there. Christian McCaffrey looked great. But yeah, you lose Michael Williams, and it's just again another. I remember that feeling leaving the stadium. How much more? What more? How much more do you want from me? What else can I give you? Who is doing this to us? Why is this happening? These are all things that were said. And, wins didn't feel like wins, but the 49ers took care of business against a team that they absolutely should. And it doesn't matter where the Giants pick. They're just going to be trash again next year. They're just bad teams stay bad. But the 49ers took care of business in that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to go back there next year.
Yep.
We play the Giants in MetLife again, which is thank you, NFL gods, for that one. But we just keep on losing guys. Next week, home against the Rams. And this second Rams game was the complete opposite of what happened early. The Rams are the ones that jumped up by multiple scores early, and the Niners could just never get that one stop to let them get the football with a chance to tie it up. They never could. The Rams always got that extra score, and it was a beating that Sean McVay has not often put on Kyle Shanahan.
And that's when I really realized that the 49ers were in the Rams' head. Because Kyron and Puka are doing the boombox, and look, you're on a heater. You're supposed to be the better team. You have the better quarterback, right? You have, like all of these things that are being said, right? But my God, you're nervous of the 49ers. You know that when you win these games, that's why you celebrate extra hard. You don't celebrate that hard when you beat, the Seattle Seahawks or like I understand the rivalry, but the 49ers are in your head. And no matter what, if you're a Rams fan watching this, I don't know, one of the 7, don't act like you want these problems. Don't act like I want to play the 49ers. That's the last thing that you want, and that's the last thing that they want. That is the last thing that they want. So don't puff your chest out and come in here and be like, yeah, we're not afraid. You're afraid, and the reason that I know you're afraid is because you celebrate way too hard. Watch Sean McVay after they score a touchdown run into the end zone, right? Like and be on the field and not get penalized. Yeah, those games don't mean anything. The 49ers are all up in your head. And don't act like you want these problems. So I just want to make sure that we throw that out there because I've seen a little bit too much of like, oh, we'll do it again. Will you? You don't want to play them a third time.
I guarantee you Sean McVay wants no part of Kyle Shanahan. I guarantee it. He has so much respect for Kyle. He actually texted Shanahan, if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and was like, you guys are kicking ass.
No, look, I want to say this. If anybody's seen Talladega Nights, I would have answered him and I would have said, I'm confused by your tactics and I'm not going to back off either. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, thanks, man. I'm going to be like, fuck off, Sean. I don't want to hear that. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse, but I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't care about any of that. Save your kudos for someone else. You use your mind tricks on somebody else, man. Don't text me that. All right, what's the next one after the Rams loss?
Well, this is the start of the 6-game comeback for Brock Purdy and the start of this run against the Cardinals. Brock comes back. Niners dice them up for 41 points. Brock Purdy has 3 touchdowns in the game. George Kittle has 2 touchdowns, and it's just foot on the accelerator the rest of the way.
Yeah, and you know what? Arizona, you're welcome. We made the decision much easier for you to move on from Jonathan Gannon so you can get yourself a new coach, get yourself a new quarterback. But we sent that into hyperdrive a little bit faster. Like, we were just like, hey, man, here's your offseason. Here we go. And even still after that game, there were still people that were saying, it's Arizona. You really can't take too much from that. But Brock looked comfortable right away. Like, and he looked like a guy that was just like, hey, I'm back. Everything looked fine. So yeah, I've got it. I've got this one as like the Jonathan Gannon farewell tour.
It was, we've got a quarterback, the other team doesn't, and we are ready to play our best when the best was required at the end of the year in the schedule. But then we got to the Monday night game against Carolina, and Brock Purdy throws 3 picks in the first half. And I was like, oh no, maybe, he's not the guy that we thought we saw coming back in Arizona. Maybe this is, he puts too much pressure on himself because all the guys are injured. But since that second half of that Carolina game, Brock Purdy has been almost perfect as a quarterback.
Yeah, and I want to talk about something real quick. I'm going to keep this short. Stop getting mad at fans because of what they were saying during that game and being like, oh, but you wanted him benched and you want... Dude, early on in that game, those interceptions were piling up. It looked bad. Looked like Brock's head was spinning. No one was saying bench him for the season. They were saying maybe this might be one of those games where, you sit him for a little bit so he can get himself together. But the idea that people are just like, now that he's on this tear, are just like engagement farming on Twitter. I was told that you need to bench. Like, or the other thing, Matthew Stafford throws 3 interceptions. Well, you got to bench him, right? These are the rules. Shut up. That shit is so lame. And like, seriously, that is so lame and probably the lowest way to get engagement on Twitter. I'm sick of it. Just remember that everything doesn't have to do with the 49ers. If Josh Allen misses a throw, you don't have to be like, well, they would have crucified Brock, or like, it's so stupid. It just keep it to the 49ers. Not everything has to do with the 49ers. And just because you want engagement doesn't mean that you have to turn it into something where you're turning fans on other fans because of how they feel in the heat of the moment.
There's a couple people with some pretty big megaphones that have a tendency to do that one way or the other.
Like, like if Jalen Hurts threw for 0, I mean, if Brock Purdy threw for 0 yards in the second half, what would you say? We'd say that was really fucking bad. I'm sorry, I keep saying we'd say that. Like, we'd say, like, I don't understand. I really dislike this part of the discourse, because when people have something that they feel in that moment, they feel it and it's real. But it doesn't mean that because things change and they're a little bit different that you have to keep throwing that out there. It's a tired bit. You need a new bit, whoever it is that I'm talking to and whoever it is that you think I'm talking to, because it's not just one person. But you guys need to cut it out and start analyzing the game a little bit more. All right, that's done with that. So what's the next one?
Cleveland. And this was the game, Jay, that I thought that Brock understood the assignment. Like, it clicked for him. I can throw the ball away. I can throw it away. We could still put up a lot of points. I don't have to squeeze all the juice out of every single snap. He went into protect the ball mode against that defense, and they put it on the Browns. They won 26-8.
This one was the one that no matter what, and I still would have had the 49ers with this record, that I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like these Cleveland games, their defense, everything. Myles Garrett's on a heater going into this one. Weather. You automatically think weather. You automatically are just thinking the worst with the weather. But this turns out to be the game that really starts to push Brock Purdy in a different direction, because he learned to dance. And I want to say this, Brock. I want you to learn a second dance because I believe in you. It's not because I'm sick of the Dougie. I believe in you, and I believe that you have motion. I believe that you actually can learn a second dance. What's next, though? We're going back in time. Are we going to start cranking that Soldier Boy? Are we going to start, hitting the young jock? These are dances from the 2010s. Let's start to get somewhere else here and pick up a new one. Like, are you going to start doing the Charleston from 1920? Like let's start to get another dance under. You've got Ricky Pearsall, you got Kendrick Bourne, you got DeMarcus Robinson, literally 3 of the best dancers in the entire league. And they've got to teach you a new one. But yeah, and Chico Dusty, he mentioned in the presser, needing to learn a new dance. That is the evolution that I want to see. But, it is the game where the 49ers did break a curse from 1984. And it was something where he actually, at the end of that second half, at the end of the second quarter, I should say, that's when it really felt like, okay, the 49ers let the Browns know, this is it. We're not letting this happen. This is our game, and we're going to finish it. And that was really a good one.
Exercise the demons for sure. And I couldn't help but notice Kyle Shanahan had a nice long chat with both Kevin Stefanski and Jim Schwartz after this one. both of those guys may be working somewhere else next year. I wouldn't mind seeing Jim Schwartz. If Robert Saleh leaves, I would not mind seeing Jim Schwartz coordinate this Niners D.
Listen, the dream signing, and I don't think it's going to happen because I do think I know what team is going to go all in on them for defensive coordinator, is Brian Flores. That would be the absolute dream signing to replace Saleh. If he
just
left.
Chaos defense with Brian Flores.
Oh my God! I mean, look, the little time that I've had to watch, I've had to watch the Vikings offense, which isn't necessarily as easy. Their defense is a joy to watch. It is a joy to watch. Brian Flores is like head and shoulders above these defensive coordinators, man. But not here to talk about them. So the Dougie's born. God forbid a little white boy has motion. What do we got next in this one?
Next, they had the week off, and then they came back against Cam Ward, the Tennessee Titans. Another handle your business game. Brock Purdy, 295 in this game. Niners put up 37 points and beat the Titans by multiple scores.
I remember the sentiment after this game. It was, damn, the defense. Oh God, it really is not looking good, like down the field and everything as well too. A lot of those points were in garbage time.
Yes.
I wanted to say that as well too. So I think that was it. But I remember the overall sentiment was just people were already down on his defense, and they were just down on it further based on the way that Tony Pollard was running the football. This is one of the Curtis Robinson games. I think that's important to remember. He just, no disrespect to him, and I don't want to keep dragging him or anything like that, but like he just, when you're down to your third or fourth Mike linebacker, that's what you're gonna get. So yeah, I mean, I remember thinking, hey, this defense, that's a little concerning. There's some things on there, but you know what? It was at the end of the game, and regardless, the 49ers offense was gonna have to do the heavy lifting, and they did. And Iceman, thank you so much for the donation. So Jason, which show, Stranger Things or Welcome to Derry? Have you seen Pluribus? Haven't seen Pluribus, but Welcome to Derry over Stranger Things. Could not get through after the first season. I just stopped caring. They just care too much about 80s nostalgia. But another story for another day.
You should watch Pluribus, though. Pluribus is excellent.
I would. Apple TV's on a hell of a run. They don't really miss too much. I'll be honest with them. But yeah, Welcome to Derry was actually excellent. So we're not here to talk about that, though. What's next after this one, the Tennessee game? Because now we're just talking about wins, and then we can just get into the last game.
Old Man Rivers, baby. 48 points by the Niners.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? The week before against Seattle, man, that same Indianapolis defense without DeForest Buckner, that Seattle offense couldn't muster anything, and they won on field goals, man. Mm-hmm. They literally won on field goals. I don't know how you could watch this Seattle offense the last few weeks, if you've been paying attention, and think, oh no, what are we up against? They've been very unimpressive, and that's not my opinion. The numbers bear it out. The tape bears it out. It's all there. Half of it is play calling. Half of it is Darnold being Darnold. Half of it is the fact that they don't understand who to use at running back. Half of it is that they don't have anybody else to throw at other than JSN. So this offense, it was far better in week one, far worse, and it has been for weeks. And it was starting right there when I started to really notice it in that Colts game, where I'm like, you're home. What are you doing? Like, why does Philip Rivers have a chance to kick a field, have the guy who was the Saints kicker kick a 60-yard field goal to give you a lead, and then you have to go down and win the game? They looked flawed. They looked very flawed.
They absolutely did. And because of that, I was nervous. Like, is Philip Rivers really going to give us the business here? 44-year-old grandpa. And then he comes out, touchdown. I'm like, what is going on? But I just remember after that game being mad because they made the whole broadcast about Philip Rivers, but Brock Purdy is the quarterback that had 5 touchdowns in the game.
For sure. And again, and I'm glad that Niner Faithful brought this up. Jonathan Taylor, 46 yards. I was scared to death. I for sure thought that Jonathan Taylor was going to get the ball till he vomited. And it just didn't happen. They had a game plan where they were running mesh concepts. They were running everything underneath. And Philip Rivers, this is the difference. And I think this was the difference in that game, is Philip Rivers had full autonomy at the offensive line to change everything that he wanted. Everything that he saw from Saleh, he was just checking and getting out of it. And that's what Shanahan and Saleh were talking about all week is, yeah, they didn't say it this way, but this is basically what they were saying. Yeah, he's really old, but he's really smart, and he actually knows where to go with the football, which, you could be young and you could be very athletic, but if you don't understand those little things and have the autonomy to make those checks, that's what they were talking about with Rivers. So, yeah, but the 49ers end up, throttling them as well, too, and again, 40 more points, right? And then what's next?
Next is Chicago, what we just saw.
this game was really fun, man. Look, I don't want to equate points to fun. I want to make sure we make that clear because everyone thinks that everybody wants to see touchdown, 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 touchdown. Sometimes I do. I enjoy defensive struggles. I enjoy chess matches. I enjoy teams that are right there on tough play, inches right from getting plays. But this was so much fun, man. I don't care what anybody says. I had a blast watching this game. And to think about the way that it started, right? I mean, Brock Purdy's so good and generous that even his mistakes are touchdowns right now. Like that's how good of a heater he's on. But
I
that pick six was like, I was like, oh no, let's not start with that.
I wasn't even like scared though. Honest to
Really?
God, like he threw the pick six. I'm watching with my son. I'm like, damn, that's not a good way to start. But I just knew like the way Brock is playing, I was like, they're gonna score against this defense. And they basically didn't stop. That was it. Basically, they destroyed them. Brock Purdy had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown in the first quarter of the game. And it was just nonstop offense. And that Brock did whatever he wanted. He was stepping up in the pocket. He was running when he needed to run. They were calling, zone reads for him where he's keeping the ball, which I love when they do that in the red zone. It's worked multiple times this year. Yes. He is in like a flow state right now. And that will be the only silver lining if the Niners don't get the number 1 seed is that Brock Purdy is just kicking ass right now. And it's like you almost don't want him to have a week off because he's rolling.
I was just about to say that. And that's really, really interesting, right? Is the idea of, yes, a bye week would be great, right? Because you get a chance to rest again, but you're on a heater. And you just want to keep playing. Like in Major League Baseball, 3 out of 10 means you're in the Hall of Fame. But when you're going good, you almost want to sleep at the ballpark. And you just want to keep going, right? So there is this, like, I obviously want the 49ers to have a bye because then that means obviously one less game, clearly. But there's no, obviously the Fred Warner thing, but I'm talking about, there's no, person that's really close that with a week off will come back or something. Well, I mean, Trent, obviously, something like that. But I mean, it is interesting to think about it that way, where you're like, you know what, man, this offense is so hot right now that I don't care who the opponent is. Let's roll them out there again next week and we can do whatever we want.
I don't know how you could look at it any other way. And, with all the injuries the 49ers have had, Kyle Shanahan ain't going to get injured, right? Like,
whoa.
I know. I shouldn't even say it. But Dominic Pooney said we need to protect Kyle Shanahan's brain at all costs. Like, yeah, with him there and coaches can get into a groove too. Coaches can get on a hot streak, especially play callers, just as much as anybody else.
For sure.
I think Kyle is absolutely on one of those heaters right now. I think you are seeing the mind meld between Brock and Kyle. They are literally seeing the game with the same eyes right now. And when you've got a coach on a heater and a quarterback that is understanding exactly what the coach is thinking when he's making those plays, that's how you put up 40 points a game. And 40 points a game, even with a bad defense, can beat anybody.
Yes, absolutely. And you just kind of hope that the 49ers, I think the team that I'll look at and I'll say that there's, has there ever been a team that was really bad on defense and all of a sudden turned it on for a playoff run? I think back to the 06 Colts, had one of the worst run defenses in the league, but they obviously had Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. And, when you can shore up a little bit of that and you have that offense, you go and you win a Super Bowl. So I think that's really where it is. And I think that the 49ers formulas, it's been the same week after week. Make it up on special teams, score as many times as you can, get 1 or 2 stops. Just don't turn the football over. I mean, it's not the way that it's not ideal. It's not how you want to draw it up. You don't want to have to tell your offense that you have to score every single time. But the way this offense is going right now, I don't care what the defense is. If, teams couldn't do this against high school teams with what the 49ers are doing right now. I feel okay with this, especially if all the games are going to be at Levi's.
And you also put pressure on the other offense. It's like, you guys got to be perfect now. Like a field goal is a massive failure. And I've said field goals are failures forever. But like when the Bears were held to that field goal, I was like, all right, the door is open now, because that's how good the 49ers are rolling. And you mentioned the red zone success that they have had. It's unbelievable how they're able to do it. But that's why you feel good when the other team's getting 3 and you're getting 7, you're going to win that battle.
2 things the 49ers have done better than 29 other teams going into this last week. Red zone and late game success rate. That's how you finish these games off, and you win big games and you win at the end. Late game offensive success rate, third down, red zone. The 49ers are excelling in all of those things. And Happy learned how to putt. Kyle Shanahan's going for it on fourth down now.
Yeah, he is.
That's all you need to see now, because now you're gonna have to defend every blade of grass 4 straight downs. God help you now, because now Kyle is now getting aggressive. So let's do it. The big game on Saturday. We will talk next Tuesday after it, one way or another. The rivalry jerseys, no pressure, guys. This is your moment. If this doesn't go the way that we want, take the jerseys and throw them out. If it goes the way that you want, then they're the best jerseys in the world. Are the San Francisco 49ers going to be dancing in Levi's with a week off Rob Guerrero?
I think they are. I mean, I don't want to say, I wish I knew more about the injuries, but I don't know. They feel like a team of destiny right now. They feel like a team of destiny. I don't know how they're doing this. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical, but sometimes sports ain't logical, man. The 49ers lost multiple Super Bowls where they had the best team and they didn't win. So I don't care if they're not technically the best team. They may just be one of those gritty teams that finds a way, and they're doing it right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, the best team doesn't always win the Super Bowl. And I could make that argument almost every year. Just about every year with somebody else. And it's just about who executes, who gets in hotter. Right now, you probably can't ask for any better circumstances. I do think the 49ers win on Saturday as well, too. I think the score is going to be 27-21. I think this game is going to be a lot more tightly contested on defense, given Seattle, given that, they're a lot more healthy as well, too. But the 49ers are going to get this done. I do expect a Sam Darnold disaster fest at certain moments where he throws one in somebody's belly or he just absolutely, poops himself. I don't know how the 49ers are going to generate this pass rush or how they're going to make him feel that way. But if you get pressure in his face from the A gap and you move him in the pocket, he will revert. And that's exactly what you saw last season down the stretch with the Vikings. But the 49ers will be playing playoff football one way or another. I just suspect that they'll start in the divisional round, and then we can start the clock with Fred Warner returning.
Don't put it past them to maybe try and sneak out for the divisional round. I wouldn't be shocked. All I'm saying is I wouldn't be shocked if he at least gave it. Maybe it's a thing where like he plays, a handful of snaps and then, comes back really in full in the NFC Championship game if they make it. I don't know. I don't think we've seen the last of 54.
I mean, they just got to make a video better than when Quan Alexander came back in 2019 for that run. I don't know if you guys remember. What a good social media. Listen, I know the results weren't there, and Quan Alexander didn't do anything in those playoffs and everything. But the fact that he made it back, that 49ers social media team, they lit that video up. That got me so hype. But yeah, they need to do something like that for Fred as well too. Rob, today's December 30th. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve. It's another year, working with you again. I just always want to say thank you for the opportunity, having my back, believing in me, and it's always a pleasure to be working with you. You're a great friend and you're a great producer, and I'm very lucky to be working with you on this network that you built from the ground up.
Well, I do appreciate that. I notice you're saying all this nice stuff when Steph isn't here, but nonetheless, I do appreciate it. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to everybody here. When I got laid off from SB Nation and had no money to pay anybody, every single person on the team said, we're going to keep working. And you guys worked for free for a while. And I will never, ever forget that, man. And nobody even brought it up. Nobody mentioned it. Nobody complained. Nobody even said like, hey, I'm not doing it unless you can pay me in 6 months. Nobody did any of that. That makes you guys the best team in the world. And I'll be forever grateful for that.
It's just because we believed in you, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in in you. And we just when we were there, I was obviously writing for SB Nation. I still am, and we were there. We were rolling. We were the number 4 sports podcast in America. Think about that. The number 4 sports podcast in America, any sport. And then the rug gets pulled out from under us right before the Dallas game, which should have been the time of our lives, man. And I just remember thinking like, you know what? This guy, I remember you hiring me, and I always thought, man, I'm really glad that he, thought of me because he didn't have to. There's so many talented guys out there that of course I would do it for free because I enjoy working for you, but more than anything, I believed in you. And I think that's really what it is. It's just, I'm really proud of you for being able to, one, have ownership of your own thing, and two, now you don't have to listen to anybody, which is something that there's no price that you can put on.
It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie, but we couldn't have done it without you, man. I say it all the time. It's true. I put our Niners covered, not me, just me. Everybody here, you, Steph, Levin, Michelle, Vish, Johnny Dell now, who's joined the team. I put our Niners coverage up against anybody. I know we're not the biggest channel. I get that, but the work that we do is as good or better than anybody out there, and I really do believe that.
Hell of a team, hell of a season. So the next time we'll talk, I'm gonna do the dad joke. I'll see you in 2026. I'll see you next year, Rob. But hey, guys, thank you for joining. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. Make sure you subscribe to the Ghost Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure you follow Rob on Twitter at StatsOnFire. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Follow Steph at Steph49K as well too. Steph, we miss you. I know that you had a good time at the Chicago game, and that's why you couldn't,
Yeah.
you make it. I was a little bit jealous, but make sure you subscribe to her YouTube channel. And, this is going to be a really fun game on Saturday, but I'm having a blast covering this team. This is one of my favorite seasons to ever cover. So for Rob, for Jay, we're out of here. Happy New Year, guys.